I am Yah who rectify. Yah, the one who rectifies. My name will not be profaned. Yah is holy. My people will not be shamed. Hallelujah. They tried to erase my name from the earth, but Yah breathed. Carved in stone, but they twisted my word. Hallelujah. Nations mock, but their idols fall. Every knee will bow. Blood of the covenant sealed and bound. We are chosen. We are found. They defiled my name in the streets. Yah is just. They enslaved my people for years, but Yah delivers. I am Yah who rectifies. Thunder rolling through the sky. Glory, power, majesty. Justice burns, the nations cry. My glory stands, I can't deny. Say his name. I am Yah who rectifies. He restores what was stolen, I supply. I lift my people, purify. My name forever glorified. From Genesis spoken to Revelation flame, he is faithful. Every prophecy sealed in my name. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Kings of the earth, your crowns will rust. Yah reigns forever. Israel rise, let the trumpet sound. We are found. We are found. Yeah. I am Yah. I am fire. Yah is fire. I am judge. I am higher. Yah is higher. I am the hand that breaks the rod. Break the rod. Break the rod. I am the mighty, the only Elohim. 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 I am Yah who rectifies. Thunder rolling through the sky. Lift him up. Let the nations hear. Justice burns, the nations cry. My glory stands, I can't deny. Every tear. I am Yah who rectifies. Every tear I sanctify. I lift my people, testify. My name forever glorified. My name forever glorified. My name forever glorified. I am Yah, the rectified. Hallelujah, hallelujah. What was broken I restore. Yah is restored. My people, my name forevermore. Hallelujah, Yah forevermore. Berean Scholar. Berean Scholar.
Waking up the people of the Most High. Got the knowledge to destroy the lies. DNA history, open eyes. Walk into the darkness and turn on the lights. Wake up, 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 wake up. That's a good point.
That's interesting.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Right.
It's more so of black people not knowing who they are. The reason we struggle as black people is because we don't know who we are.
Say that.
And so, I mean, if you want to be quite frank about it, white people know who we are. That's why they keep kicking it. White people know who we are. That's why they keep kicking it. White people know who we are. That's why they keep kicking it. The reason other cultures are so strong, like a Jew is going to look out for a Jew. A Chinese man is going to look out for a Chinese man. Like,
No matter what.
If I can just
Jews look out for Jews, period.
Yeah, but if you don't do it, just don't take care of it, John.
It's more so of black people not knowing who they are.
Whenever someone gets to know me and they start to see my views, they always ask, are you a black Hebrew Israelite? Black Hebrew Israelite, it's not a thing. Are you a white polar bear? No one walks up to the Ashkenazim and asks them, are you a white Jew? No one does that. In fact, we find it very disrespectul when you say that. But back to what I was saying. But whenever people would ask me that, I would beat around the bush and I word it a certain way. But now I don't do it. and I'm going to explain why. Now, falling under the title of Hebrew Israelite seems to have a negative connotation, but in its original Hebraic sense, it was completely positive. Now, to be a Hebrew is a covenant thing. It's saying that you are a descendant of Abraham, that you are one of his many sons, that you are of the covenant of the circumcision. To be Hebrew or Ivri is to be one that crossed over. We are the ones that crossed over to Jordan. We are the ones that crossed over from our former lives to the new life centered in Torah. Now, not every Hebrew is an Israelite. So many other groups in the Bible, like the Ishmaelites, the Edomites, they're Hebrews too, but they don't fall under the covenant of being an Israelite. Now, being an Israelite is one that descends from the 12 sons of Yaakov or Israel. To be an Israelite means that you carry the mantle of being a kingdom of priests. We are teachers of the nations. The scripture says that we will bring light to the nations, which is the Torah. It's not about being better than anybody. It's about carrying out the calling that the Most High has for us. And who are we to deny the position that the Most High, the creator of the universe, put us in? So being a Hebrew Israelite isn't a negative connotation, and it shouldn't be associated with all the negative things that it has become associated with. Let's bring it back to its original context. Let's walk in the light that we were supposed to walk in. Let's continue to obey Torah, and that way we won't be known by our curses, but the blessings that comes from obeying the Most High's word.
This is Ola, the daughter of Jethro, and I just heard that you black people that was stolen from Africa to America, that you don't know who you are, but you are the children of Yahweh, the children of Israel, and I'm telling you, you have to come back to your homeland, here to Zion, to Jerusalem, because us the Gentiles, we do need you. We need you to come and pray because you are our saviors. You're the one that was chosen by Yahweh to live in this land, not the Jewish people, it's you. You were stolen from Africa, they deceived you, they told you that you are slaves, but you actually the children of Israel. And it's time just to come back. Come for your people, come back for us, come back for the whole Gentiles, because only you gonna save us. So please come back.
Just 20 years after the fall of the northern kingdom, Judah's king Hezekiah rebelled against Assyrian rule. Lachish, 30 miles southwest of Jerusalem, was the largest Judean fortress outside of the capital. It was here that King Sennacherib of Assyria decided to teach Hezekiah a lesson.
The outlook for the people of Lachish was very grim from the beginning. The whole might of the Assyrian Empire was concentrated on this city and its defenders.
David Ushishkin excavated Lachish for more than 20 years. One reason he was attracted here is because the Assyrian siege of Lachish offers one of the greatest convergences of the Bible, extra-biblical texts, archaeology, and iconography. Assyrian King Sennacherib was so proud of his campaign in Lachish that he commissioned an 80-foot relief for the throne room of his palace. Using a graphic representation of the relief, Ushishkin came to believe it is less the product of an artist's imagination and more like a snapshot based on an actual eyewitness account. First, he locates the siege ramp the Assyrians built to breach Lachish's fortified walls.
It is the only Assyrian siege ramp ever discovered and the only one from the biblical period.
There he finds evidence of the battle that took place.
First of all, there are the sling stones. They are carved balls of stone. They resemble tennis balls, but of course they are much heavier. And they were shot with slings. And we see slingers in the Assyrian army in the relief. And also the Judean defenders are using the slings.
He also finds more than 1,000 arrowheads, clear evidence of how concentrated the Assyrian attack was. Then he climbs to the top of the city wall, just above the siege ramp, to search for Assyrian King Sennacherib.
In the relief, we see that Sennacherib sat on his throne directing the attack, and I believe that it must be this big farmhouse of the Moshav, which we see from here. This place is just in front of the Assyrian camp, just opposite the siege ramp, and this must be the optimal point where he could set and directed the attack.
From this vantage point, Sennacherib witnessed his soldiers storming the city, slaughtering and heaving its defenders from the ramparts. Judean officials and leaders of the rebellion were impaled and displayed near the city gate. He ordered the people exiled and then burned Lachish to the ground. In addition to the extensive Assyrian account, there is also mention of the battle in the Bible, though in far less detail.
King Sennacherib of Assyria was at Lachish with all his forces. 2 Chronicles 32:9.
An interesting way to compare different ancient historiographies is to look at the way the siege of Lachish is treated in the Assyrian records and in the biblical account. Obviously, it was of great importance to the Assyrians, but the biblical writers dismiss it in one verse. All they say is that Sennacherib was at Lachish. Well, he certainly was. For them, it was of little interest. The fate of Lachish wasn't important. The fate of the temple was.
And it was the temple and the city that housed it, Jerusalem, that was the next stop on the Assyrian military campaign. Sometime prior, Hezekiah prepared the city for the anticipated siege. He fortified the city walls and stockpiled food and ammunition. But there was one major weakness. Jerusalem's only source of water lay outside the fortification walls.
Jerusalem has only one spring of water, and this is the spring Gihon. We hear its noise just behind me. Only it is emanating from the ground outside the city walls. So whoever wanted water during a possible siege had to make sure that they bring the water in some way into the city.
The solution was an ambitious engineering project to build an underground tunnel. Ronnie Reich, director of excavations of the Gihon Spring, still marvels at the accomplishment. The tunnel needed to be 1/3 of a mile long, cut through solid bedrock, and almost level over this entire distance, so the force of the spring ensured that the water flowed from the spring to the pool. And with an Assyrian siege inevitable, time was of the essence. To speed the construction, the digging began at both ends.
At each particular moment, only 2 workers were working, one cutting from one side, the other from the other side, because the space was very narrow, 2 feet wide. Oh, and we reached the place where the 2 groups of rock cutters have met. It's exactly where I'm standing. And we can see here the cuttings of the axes in the hard rock coming this way. And when I just go 1 cubit or so into the southern part, we can see over here the marks on the wall, rock wall, going like this.
A little further down the tunnel, Reich arrives at the spot where King Hezekiah commissioned a memorial.
Here we arrived at the place of the inscription, where it once was.
It is the oldest monumental inscription ever found in Jerusalem. Today it's in a museum in Istanbul.
And it shows a few lines in Paleo-Hebrew, ancient Hebrew.
Shalom, peace and blessing, family. I stopped the video right here just for a moment because I want you to see the inscription on the wall. I hope you can make it out. It is the ancient language of our people. And he said Paleo. He had a little accent. It's Paleo Hebrew. And you know, in the next coming episodes, we're gonna do some more stuff how we can track and find out who we are and how our people has been, where our people been at, by seeing some description. This is the same script that they found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is where we find the original Torah written in the script, not Greek, not Aramaic. It was written in Paleo Hebrew, and not rabbinical scripts that was done by the Masoretic text. If you know anything about that. I want to first welcome everybody to the live. I hope you guys are having had a great Shabbat on yesterday and having a great day today. I am excited by seeing. I just got through watching my brothers walk his land and seeing all that acreage. I'm excited. I am excited. I celebrate with my family, no matter who they are, and I mourn with my family because we're family. We're one, and that's what we're supposed to do, one with another. When somebody else is blessed like that, that's a celebration for us because Yah's moving and he's moving for all of us. So I just say, oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. And tonight we're going to talk more about this area because it means something to us as a people. Lachish. You heard the term before, Lachish. Now I'm gonna go ahead and let this video play, and I'm gonna bring on my special guest, and we're gonna get into it.
Of the late 8th century BC, וזה היה דבר הנקבה.
The excavators struck, each man to meet his co.
Again, Paleo Hebrew, carved into the rock. If you know it, you can see the letters, and remember it's a constant language, with only a vowel was an ah sound. So you can make out the words.
Worker, pickaxe against pickaxe.
I imagine that it was a day to celebrate because the water went from the spring, which is outside the city on the east, to the pool, which is inside the city on the west.
Hallelujah. I first want to welcome my guest from Pine Hills Production, Brother Gibson. Brother Gibson, are you there?
Shalom, shalom, family. Peace and blessings.
I am glad to have you on. And first, before we get into it, I'm going to explain to our family, and I like saying family because it's not just a chat. We're family. We are family, and not only that, we're family. We're blood connected. We are blood connected.
Yes, we are.
But how we got to what we're doing today, guys, I did a lesson. Was it last week, Brother Gibson?
Yes, yes.
They running together to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Between the videos, they're running together. Last week I did a lesson about it's time to read the writing on the wall, America. And we talked about the writing on the wall with Daniel in chapter 5. We went on that and how we need to read the writing on the wall with us, what's happened to us today, and also how we can read the writing on the wall showing where we are. And I pointed out some information that I found online that verified some of the things that I already had, I already known with my DNA. And I think I dropped that link in the chat for a lot of people. And I hope you guys, when we drop links in the chat like that, I hope you take those links and you're using them. And you went to the website, and it was a couple of researchers, a couple of people who researched the Lachish archaeological site. There was a discovery made on that site, I think in the 1800s, where they found a grave site that had over 1,000 skulls and bones. It was known to be the burial site of the people. If you saw the, we're gonna show it again. If you saw the depiction on the Rekesh relief, how they captured us. They took us by force. You saw them on some of the regions. You see them beheading people or throwing people at the wall. Well, most of those bodies they buried in a mass grave site, and these skulls have been found. And I think it was like the 1800. We're gonna find that out more when we bring up the slide. But several people have done research on these skulls, and several people have done research on the teeth. And when I pointed out something last week, I love when we got another scholar in the house. He Brother Gibson hit me in the chat, said, "Wait a minute, I know that, brother, and we still have the same. We had some kin. We had some of the similar subgroup of the H1B1 haplogroup." I said, "Wow." So we need to get into that and go deeper in that. So, brother Gibson, let you elaborate on that.
Yeah, so once again, Shalom family, it's good to be here with everyone. So like Brother Berean Scholar mentioned, I was tuned in on the live. I got in a little bit late, but then I watched the full clip. And that's when I chimed in. I said, okay, wait a minute. Brother Berean is using Brother James Mazingo's research. And so how Brother James Mazingo and I connect, we actually descend from the same line of a YDNA that basically is Nile Valley into the Northeast Africa expansion, or some people call that the Levant. And then it kind of came down into the Arabian Peninsula, and then it came back into Africa. What he is able to do is kind of trace his line, because he's also a direct descendant of the first Mazingo male that arrived in the 1600s in America. And so when we look at that, we have to put all of this history, the Bible, we have to start putting all of these things together. And it's important to understand with the Spanish and Portuguese Inquisition and how those Negro Jews were expelled into different parts, or exiled into different parts of Africa.
Brother, I'm going to emphasize what you just said, because you said some great things right there. He just said that his Mazingo traced his DNA to Levant, which is what we know now as Israel, Palestine area. Also, he said he traced his DNA also to the first people who came across on the transatlantic slave trade. And we did a video on that too. It went back to Isabella and Antonio Negro, if you remember that. So,
yes.
Listen with intelligence. Go ahead, keep going.
So with that Inquisition, and this is where it's important to also just look at the secular history, because we can find our history also in other people's written history. And so the Portuguese established colonies throughout Africa, especially at the dawn of the international slave trade, or what Pastor Kelly likes to say, the international slave war. But understand, I remember I was in Senegal back in 1999, and that's when I had first learned it was actually the Portuguese who were first throughout all of West Africa, building their fortresses, building their castles, and building that network that will be the foundation for the slave trade. And so Portugal is still one of those defunct type of colonies. It's a country today. Not Portugal, Angola, I'm sorry, is one of those countries today that's rooted in a former Portuguese colony. As a matter of fact, the official language there is still Portuguese. And in some of their records that they have, and I'll be glad one day when they start getting things digitized, they have the transportation records. So those who were kidnapped, they have their indigenous name, their Christian name, and then whether they were male or female. And then they were, of course, put on the ships, and then they were sent to different parts of the New World. And so,
just so we're gonna follow on with you, brother. We went back to where you say in this area.
Yeah, actually, the Levant goes.
I'm sorry, right here.
from Egypt all the way into Syria and, parts of Iraq, that whole Fertile Crescent.
This right here, I wish I could highlight the whole thing. I don't want to go too far in. But yeah, this area, and he traced it from here to Portugal.
Right. Went up into that part of Europe. Now, keep in mind, we also have all kinds of evidence, biblical and secular, of, an Israelite migration. And I think it's important, Brother Berean, you have, for the ancient Israelites, you have migration by the way of dispersal.
Right.
Some type of calamity. But you also have voluntary migration.
Right.
Just as people move today, our ancestors moved voluntarily. So you can look at it in two different ways. Involuntary by scattering, and then voluntary by choice. And so you have these ancient Israelite communities now that are starting to pop up in different regions of the Mediterranean, and what I call that Mediterranean corridor that also includes the northern part of Africa as well as the southern part of Europe. And then with the Inquisition, of course, you have the exile of many of the Negro Jews into different parts of Africa, West Africa. But Angola is really important because it's Angola, which was a Portuguese settlement, Portuguese colony. That's where we're going to have the documented first groups of kidnapped people, Israelite people, and then some of them may have just been of other ethnic groups, but that's when we have that first group of folks that are going to be coming to what will become the United States of America. Now, understand, with the entire Western Hemisphere, you're sending kidnapped people in Central America, the Caribbean, South America, North America. You're sending it all there. But with this particular Mazingo line, they were coming into colonial North America. And from there, Mazingo James, fast forward to the 20th century, 21st century, he took a DNA test just to examine his Mazingo line. And what's interesting about that particular line, there's that particular branch is also what we call a free family of color. And so this is another important component with some of the first people that were brought to colonial North America. Many of them were indentured, but then we can trace the paper trail. They started buying land. So they were living as free persons of color. So
free people who came here because they wanted opportunity.
No. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So when we talk about like White Lion, Dutch Man of War,
right,
you're talking about those kidnapped Africans that included Israelites were first to have been sent to New Spain to work in the mines of what will become Mexico. But a British ship overcame that Portuguese vessel and then took some of them down to Jamaica, but the others, because they had to do ship repair, came to Virginia. And so they worked as indentured servants. This is very important. And then when we trace that paper trail, they were buying land, and you cannot be a slave buying land. And so their term of service was only temporary. And I think it's important.
That's what you're saying, because we have to understand that there was several migration, and this is where we get into the debate. And guys, you'll see this on social media. People are saying, "Well, we're the indigenous people here in the land. We never came from Africa." You've heard that on social media. I know you heard that, and that's partially true. Partially true. We've had some people who migrated here before Columbus.
Right.
And we'll get into that later on, how they got here. And what Brother Gibson said that even when we first got here, there were an opportunity to buy your freedom or work your freedom, but we're talking about it changed after the Baker's Rebellion.
Right. And like I said, so and this is very important, and I'm glad you mentioned it. This is very important, just for some broader context. So for those who really want to dive deep into what Brother Berean just said, you need to research the Empire of Mali. The Empire of Mali, because that is where, and then there's a great book, They Came Before Columbus, by Ivan van Sertima. Ivan van Sertima, They Came Before Columbus. So if you want to take
I did two videos on him, one on his book, one on his lecture. So you can find that same video on my channel, They Came Before Columbus.
Right. So that's a great way to kind of get a good introduction. But to go back, you had Spain that contracted with Portugal to transport kidnapped human beings, send them to New Spain, or what we call Mexico. But on the voyage, their ship was overrun or overcome by British pirate ships. And so they brought them into Virginia. And then I'm
gonna interject. I don't want to catch y'all board, but what you just said, say that one more time. They were interjected by what?
Okay, so they were on their way to New Spain to work as slaves, but then a British pirate ship basically commandeered that Spanish or Portuguese vessel. And then during the battle, there were some needed repairs. One ship went into Jamaica, and then the other one came into Virginia.
And the only reason I interjected, because I want to make sure we don't gloss over this, because that's another lie, another thing we need to pull over. This glorified picture you've been given by Disney about Pirates of the Caribbean and all this stuff. The pirates had three things they were after when they were selling seas, and all had to do with us.
Yeah,
rum, guns, and gold, and slaves. That's what they were. That's the booty they was going after. So when they talk about treasure, we were the treasure.
We were the treasure, and I think it's important for us to keep this in context, not to dehumanize our ancestors. We were a commodity.
Yes, we were.
We were part of capitalism, you know, and so that's how all of those things work. One other thing, Brother Berean, that's important to note: the Virginia settlement was on near failure economically until those kidnapped Israelites and other Africans arrived to help them turn their economy around. That's well documented. So the Virginia colony, that settlement, was on the verge of economic collapse. And in short, if I can just oversimplify it, they didn't know how to grow anything.
Exactly.
They had no concept of irrigation, you know, no full concept of agriculture, that agrarian lifestyle. And so it was these groups of people, Israelites and Africans, they helped to turn that around.
And this trade area, just another note, and I'm not gonna try to get too much into one thing, because you know I just like this spelling lies. When you said when those pirates were going from here, between here, the western coast of Africa, you see here, and also from up here to Spain and Europe. This was the triangle where they had to either intercept, steal, and intercept cargo.
Exactly.
But some of just another thing I'm gonna say, Africa has its own ecosystem. Like some animals and sea life is the only natural in this area, because that trade was so treacherous, and a lot of our people were thrown overboard and stuff because of different things. There's different groups. You see my arrow going, even to the day, because of transatlantic slave trade. Because hundreds of years, there was always people that they would follow behind these slave ships just to feed.
Exactly.
Think about it. That's our ancestors. That's how many people were thrown over.
And Brother Berean, I think you just a couple of your words cut out, but I think you were saying how the sharks followed those. Yes. And
it changed the migrations of the sharks. There was so many people coming.
And for our family listening, they still follow that pattern after the slave ships, and you know that the international slave trade has been over. But I want you to think about how that system could disrupt the natural order of a system to where they still follow that particular trail to this day.
Amen.
That's so we don't know. So, okay, for those who have a criminal justice background, the Atlantic Ocean is one big crime scene. For those of us who are into genealogy, the Atlantic Ocean is one big graveyard.
Yeah. And that's some of the significance of what happened in the United Nations, because they made that that statement as the transatlantic slave trade being a crime against humanity, that puts it in the category of crime.
Yeah,
we know it. You know, the United States and Israel, you know, they voted out, but now it went to more than just being, oh, get over it. No, that's a crime being committed.
Yeah.
So that's a step for us.
And Brother Berean, too, I think it's important for us to incorporate the language human trafficking. That way,
I love what Brother Kelly said. Pastor Kelly said it was a war.
Yeah,
they were at war against us.
Yeah, and that way, if you, not to diminish slavery, but if you take the word slavery out, people can't make the comment, well, they had slavery all over the world. No, we're talking about something different. Chattel slavery was much different. So, like Pastor Kelly said, a war against humanity, and then human trafficking.
Because never, ever, ever have they had what happened here in the States. Even in the Caribbean, it didn't happen like it happened here in the States, where it was race based, and we were actually bred and treated like cattle.
Yeah, and here's something too. I share with my classes. There's 4 basic characteristics of slavery that we saw. It was racial identification. Heredity was through the mother. It was a lifetime condition, and then we could be bought and sold. We were movable property.
But let's get back on the DNA.
Okay,
I'm gonna pull. Go ahead.
Yeah, so going back to Brother Mazingo's research, and hopefully you'll pull that up here
ready to do it right now.
And so what he did, once he took a DNA test, he was able to kind of confirm some of his family's oral history, but even learn much more. And then it wasn't until I did my DNA test. Now, it's kind of challenging to explain. We didn't directly show up as matches when we took the test. It was in a different part of the site called the block tree, family tree DNA, that actually showed how we descend from the same paternal line going back centuries. And I think when we did a rough estimate, looking at the calculations, we probably share a common ancestor somewhere around 300 to 400 AD is where we share a common ancestor. So this is, many years after, many centuries, if you will, after Lachish and some other important events in Israelite history. But you'll see here, as Brother Berean has, haplogroup E1B1A. Now understand the Z1682 that is a SNP designator. So it's still part of the E1B1A haplogroup. That's important to remember. And also remember, E1B1B is like the brother haplogroup to E1B1A, but we're only focused on E1B1A for this presentation. And so the Z1682 represents a parent lineage that is documented, is one of the few. Now, this is important, of E1B1A, Nile Valley into the Levant, or into Northeast Africa, or that expansion into Northeast Africa.
And Brother James Mazzoro, is how you pronounce the last name?
Mazingo.
And he's a professor at the University of Montana, huh?
Yeah, he's actually a PhD candidate. He's a PhD student there, and he's doing some interesting work in the different aspects of DNA and what DNA can really tell us. Just beyond just the lineages, but kind of taking a deeper look into DNA.
Okay, let's go to the next slide.
Now, this is what was very interesting. And you and I had this conversation, Brother Berean, about Professor Tupin and how she was looking at dental records.
She went one step farther.
Yeah, exactly. Because, there have been numerous cranial, studying the size of the skulls from Lachish. And overwhelmingly, this is what's very important for our listening family. What's very important about the skulls at Lachish, they are what we would call Negroid skulls. So they match African populations.
And use the terminology, they're dolichocephalic.
Exactly.
And we're gonna talk about that later.
And in those studies, what they were saying, is basically the ancient Israelite, Cushite, and Egyptian were very, very similar.
And the funny thing about it, we just did a live last night where we pulled up, and I don't know if I have that I might still have it. No, we pulled up the book Ancient Egypto that gave I think the guy was named Joyce Martin, and Samuel Martin. He done the study of the skulls that he found in Egypt, and they were dolichocephalic.
Yes.
And it was the slaves, the worker class of Egypt.
Yes,
it was our ancestors there.
Yes.
We just talked about this. Those of you who were on the last night, you can go back on the Pastor Kelly's last live that we talked about that, and you'll see how they matched what we talk about today with the stuff they found in Egypt. Go ahead.
Exactly, and Brother Berean too. And I've shared this with you, and it's been with me for since we had our conversation. This. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but this dive and study into DNA, we also have to think about Noah.
Yes.
And his 3 sons, because
yes,
it's not like DNA just didn't pop out of thin air, and all of a sudden, we have this, we have that. This is something that was inherited, and looking at that, I'm kind of thinking, they really, and when I say they, scientists need to do more with studying E1B1A within the context of the Levant. Because as James mentions in his website, and you can look at other scholarly journals and scholarly articles, J, they try to insert J as being that main haplogroup for the YDNA. J is, if I could use this phrase, a Johnny come lately. J did not take the path from the Nile Valley into the Levant. And so, wait a minute. So if it didn't take that path historically, why are we including J? Why are we excluding E1B1A?
And to add what you said, brother, for those of you who are listening, we don't want to get you too much in the woods, but just to make it simple, E1E is the first part of that haplogroup E. It was what I would say Dr. Gibson was saying, it was the earliest. But if you do research now online, and that's the thing about these the AI and all this stuff are good tools, but you have to know what you're looking for, because there's certain blocks that will give you information, and the information will say other scholars would say. In fact, I was going to pull up something that I went about the Dolichocephalic. I'll show you later about me preparing for this lesson. I was talking about the skulls that were found, and they knew there was Dolichocephalic. They knew that Dolichocephalic are predominant Negro African. They say sub-Saharan, but it's no sub-Saharan, because they don't. Africa is not divided. Africa is all, that whole region was originally dark melanated people. So they try to say in the search that it's not always black people, and you got to see how they parse words sometimes. So when you're in this search for the truth, you got to see how they always try to muddy the waters. And that's why I think some people do find the research. In fact, some people have found the research that we found, but they dismissed it because it didn't point to what they wanted to point to.
Right. And you really just pointed out something, Brother Berean, is we have to be careful when we go back to research something, because if we just accept what the first article we find on the internet, or what ChatGPT or whatever these AI features tell us, then, we won't think critically enough to say, wait a minute, let's look at this closely. So, and I always go back to Bible just on fundamentals. The Bible provides a lot of basic foundation. So you go back to Genesis, Abba Yah created us from the dust or the dirt of the ground. Yes. So that ought to tell you, all the dirt that I've seen. I've seen some reddish brown dirt down south, and I've seen some, brown dirt. Then I've seen some like really, really rich, dark brown dirt.
Exactly.
So to me, that's melanated.
And that reminds me of our people, because we could become in all different types of shades. And
exactly. It's melanated. And so I think having that fundamental understanding, and two, Brother Berean, when reading the word, understand those. And I always tell people, keep a concordance with you. They have them online, or you can have a physical copy. You got to understand what the words are that actually represent black, and understand, so if you have a basic understanding of that, then it helps you to understand, oh, wait a minute, there was a melanated presence throughout the Bible, a heavy melanated presence in the Bible.
And doing, so we are on that research where the doctor, I forgot her name. It was a lady, Dr. Tupin, did the research on the teeth of the skull. Now, remember, guys, over 1,000 skulls, and the teeth have the biggest. Well, I'll let AI analyze the research and give you a summary.
Here is a careful source-based analysis.
Can you hear it?
Provided.
Yes.
Study overview titled "Population Continuity or Replacement at Ancient Lachish: A Dental Affinity Analysis in the Levant." Author Clarissa R. Dickey Tupin. What the study is about. The research examines human skeletal remains, specifically teeth, from the ancient city of Lachish, Judah, to determine were the people continuous, same population over time, or was there population replacement, new groups moving in? Method used, very important. The study does not use DNA. Instead, it uses dental morphology, tooth shape and structure, statistical comparison with other ancient populations in the Levant. Why teeth? Teeth are highly heritable and preserve well, so they are often used to estimate biological relationships between populations. Key findings, actual results. Mixed population, not isolated. The inhabitants of Lachish show biological diversity, not a single uniform group. The population had affinities with multiple Levantine groups. This suggests interaction, intermarriage, or movement of people. In simple terms, Lachish was not genetically isolated. It was part of a regional network of populations. Nummab 2, evidence of population continuity. The study found that there is significant continuity between earlier and later inhabitants. The population did not get completely replaced, meaning even after destruction events like wars, many of the same people or their descendants remained. 3. But also signs of outside influence. At the same time, some dental traits indicate new influences or gene flow. This suggests migration or integration of outsiders. So the conclusion is not pure continuity, but, open quote, a continuity with admixture model, close quote. Nash 4, Lachish fits a broader Levantine pattern. The population aligns with other Canaanite Southern Levant populations, regional biological patterns rather than distant foreign groups. This places Lachish firmly within the local Near Eastern population sphere. Final conclusion of the study. The author's overall conclusion can be summarized as, open quote, the population of ancient Lachish shows biological continuity over time, but with moderate external influences, indicating a stable local population that interacted with neighboring groups rather than being replaced entirely. Close quote.
That was
Important
very, I'm going to stop it
very
there.
critical.
Was very critical because studying the T, she said this group has some migration, and the migration, if you go deeper, is from it, because she found the same thing in Egypt that she found in Levant. So
yeah, and I think that's important. And two, so we're talking about around the siege of Lachish, and then I go back a little bit deeper in the history too, because there's another important group, and I'm just saying this within the context of human migration, the Natufian people, going back to about 9,000 BC into that particular region. And they've done, DNA analysis on the remains of those people coming from Africa again. So no matter how you look at this, the African continent gave birth to mankind. And so you cannot exclude, especially the male haplogroup E1B1A, and then you have the mitochondrial DNA that we get from our mothers, L0, L1, L2, L3. I believe L3 is one that's equally important to the male haplogroup E1B1A. So you can't exclude those when we have scientific conversations. And I think scientists, it's my hope that they would do more. And here's one other thing I want to mention before you continue, Brother Berean, is E1B1A is one of the most diverse of the male YDNA haplogroups. And we haven't even scratched the surface of what E1B1A is within a historical context. And remember, when we look at the scientific studies for Northeast Africa into the Levant, it's almost like they're trying to shut us out.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to talk about it, but we are there. And I say are, but we're there. And I think it's important to actually study E1B1A more.
And that's the main purpose for this live, to let you know that the bones that they find, they have enough evidence to tell you who was there. They have not, and you know what they have.
Exactly.
And it just in case some of you guys heard something that Brother Gibson said, if you done your own DNA test and you got your haplogroups, whether it was L1, L2, L3, or if you knew your paternal haplogroup, it was E dash something 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 because they didn't give you E1B1A. Put a 1 in the chat right now, because at first, when I first got my DNA back, after hearing everybody else, and they were saying E1B1, and mine didn't say that. I had like an E dash, like Z, just like what the brother James professor had. It was a subgroup of E1B1A, and that, and it was the reason why they did that too, and the reason why they're doing that. So if you got the same thing that I got, put a 1 in the chat. Yep, because some things, you know, and I share the same hope that you have, Brother Gibson. But I know you have so many professors who are wanting to get truth out because they want to follow science, but then you have others that don't want the truth out because they want to, you know, keep the people who are over there in place and keep the story going. So you see a lot of people have the same results when they found their haplogroup. So some of the things we gonna share tonight, gonna give you some more information too. So
and Brother Berean, I think it's important, just real quick, for us in this awakening, keep the Bible first, the Torah first.
Oh yeah,
that tells us who we are, and then we have a secular aspect of history to tell us, you know, in this awakening. But now we're having DNA.
And see, brother, I've been in church, and I've been in ministry for over 30 years. Been in full-time ministry over 28 years, and done service and all that, and been engrossed in the, what you would say, Western theological part of the Bible, but never have I ever connected all these dots together that made the Bible come alive.
Exactly.
Until I found this truth, and that's why when we can actually find this DNA, and then go back to the Bible, like this siege. If you want to read about it, you can go back to First King. I think it's 2 Kings chapters 18 and 19, and you'll read about King Sennacherib. You read about Dolichocephalic. You read about what we're talking about right now. This is in the scriptures. This happened in it. This is in the book. So we know we're talking about our people, what happened to us, and we can trace our today DNA back to what you've been reading all your life in Sunday school.
Yeah, and think about this is just one of the images that you have that's on that entire relief, and it's in the British Museum.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay, there's so many, and I'll say this in a similar vein to growing up in the church, and probably when I was in the military, I was trying to find my black self. And so I looked at the Bible, and then I was starting to read from Babylon to Timbuktu and all these other books about the black presence in the Bible. But and I'm going to be honest, I was looking at it from a Hamitic perspective.
Me too. I approached it that way too, brother.
Not a Shemite. And it wasn't until this awakening that I said, wait a minute, I've been looking at this in the wrong perspective. I need to look at it from a Shemite perspective. And that's when a lot of things just started to come full circle and make sense. And once again, the DNA is helping to kind of confirm aspects of history.
Right.
And I believe, I'm going to be honest with you, it's important. And I heard Brother Benaiah Israel say this multiple times, and I think Pastor Kelly may have said it. If you've taken DNA tests, screenshot your work.
Amen.
Screenshot your work, because I've seen with my own eyes when the autosomal test first became available on family tree DNA. My grandfather, I've shared this before, but my grandfather had a first cousin. She was the only one still living. Hers came back 24% Middle Eastern Jewish. Then over time, it turned to Jewish diaspora. And so I'm like, wait a minute, why are we starting to change? I know algorithms change. I know they kind of get new advancements in the technology, but we have to take screenshots of our data.
And I'm glad you said it, because Brother Berean was one of the reasons I was able to, him and I had conversation with Pastor Kelly that go ahead and find different aspects to find my DNA, not just because I went to 23andMe, but to find the my ancient heritage, and also JetMatch and the other platform that we went to unfold the ancient part of our DNA. Exactly. Because you're right, when I first put it up, I got one thing. A month later, it changed. Mm-hmm. And some of you out here out in the chat, you might see the same thing on your DNA. If you please, you find something, screenshot it, get it down so you can have it forever. Because there are people, once they find out that we're finding the truth out, they try to hide it. Now, I'm gonna skip through some of these slides. You can grow some because we got a whole lot of them. This is part of his study pointing to E2168 haplogroup in the Canaan land in Egypt, which that's part of the migration of our people. We stayed in Goshen, which was in Canaan, mm-hmm. and Upper Egypt, and then we moved up to the Canaan part when we left. Right. So let me go to the next slide. This shows some of the same area, and where his actual haplogroup started, it put him right there on the Jordan. Mm-hmm. I wish I could make this bigger.
And that's important. So for everyone that's watching, when you think of DNA, every time you have a SNP change, think of that as a mutation. So if, for instance, this is kind of just a very oversimplified example. If you make 1,000 photocopies of one document, will you have 1,000 perfect copies? No.
No, go ahead.
Over time, there's going to be a couple of them that are not perfect. That's called a mutation or a change. And so that's what in DNA terms is, over the course of so many generations, you're going to have a change.
And this brought him back to the relief. Now, since we got there, I'm going to show some about the relief. And since we already mentioned it, we're going to get our first give thanks to Brother Berean. I'm going to let him walk us through it because he did a great piece on that. And I always give him props. If you want to see the whole video, you can go to find my to Brother Berean's channel. Is on the DNA. It's DNA. I forgot the name of the video, but you can find out about looking for DNA of Judah. Yeah, DNA of Judah. That's the one. So here we go.
In a period of time, you know that we like to use the British Museum. So in the British Museum, in the Lachish relief that's in the British Museum, that's where you'll find the firsthand representation of the Israelites during that time, because the Lachish relief, the King Sennacherib he's coming against Jerusalem, but on his way to Jerusalem, he stops off at the city of Lachish, which is the city that he comes to that right before Jerusalem. So it's a neighboring city. And as he's going there and he's conquering Lachish, he doesn't quite make it to Jerusalem because the Most High intervenes. So he ends up going back to Assyria. And once he gets back there, they make this stone relief depicting or representing Israel and the whole conquest of the city of Lachish. And in this stone, I guess you can call it like a monument or something like that, but you'll find multiple depictions of Israel throughout this relief, right? Multiple depictions. And the easiest way to find it is just type in British Museum, Lachish relief, and just make sure when you go into the British Museum, just look for museum number 124911. That's 124911. It's kind of like an exhibit number, right? So just look for that number. Once you find that, family, it'll take you to this page, and at the very bottom you'll see these little icons or tiles at the very bottom. Just select the fourth tile from the left, click on that, and it'll take you to the part in the relief where it shows the children of Israel, right? And again, if you take a look at this, family, and just compare this to, you know, what's in the movie, you can see when it takes a look at the beard, it's somewhat accurate, right? That's why I say it's somewhat accurate, because back then the hair was a lot shorter, right? The hair was a lot shorter. So in these depictions, when they have, you know, long hair, because his hair is pretty long compared to what's on the relief, but it's a little bit better than Cesar Borgia, right? It's not that long, thin, flowing hair that you get. It's more of a tight, woolly, you know, nappy hair, so to speak. So that's what depicts Judah. And then let me show you some of these other pictures, family. Let me see if I can switch over to my, there we go. All right. So hopefully you can see that. So this is just another snapshot or picture of the relief. And so you can see this is like a corner shot. And if we zoom in, you'll see some of the same pictures we saw before, but you'll get a little bit more on the bottom left-hand side, right? So you'll see, you know, this is, Judah going into captivity, right? Got his hands up. And this is specifically Judah. And that's what I like to tell people. I like to tell them, it's like, this is specifically Judah, right? This is in the territory of Judah. So when you see people running around today and they don't look like the people that's depicted in the Lachish relief, you know there's a problem, family. You know there's a problem. And in this picture here, family, you can see you might not be able to tell what's going on, but they're supposed to be tossing the bodies of Judah the Israelites over the wall to be killed. So,
and this archaeological dig that we're talking about is because of all the bodies and stuff they tossed over. So
this is Judah, family. This is Judah. But let me come out of here. Let me see if I can go to another picture. And that's the relief there. All right. So what I did, family, was I took the Lachish relief and I tried to run it through AI. And I told, I love this. Try to create a photorealistic depiction of Judah based on these pictures, right? So you see these pictures? So I pointed AI to this and say, hey, this is what Judah's depicted as on the Lachish relief. So AI, what would Judah look like based off of this depiction? And this is what this is what the AI engine came back with. This is it, family. This is what Judah would look like if those pictures were brought to life by AI. All right. And let's go through a couple of these different pictures, right? So as you can see, these are the most accurate depictions of Judah based on the Lachish relief. So if you were to make a photorealistic or movie of Judah today, this is what Judah would look like. This is what Judah would look like. And let me just move my screen around here, fam. This is another picture. All right, see, these are all AI generated pictures based off of the Lachish relief. Based off of the Lachish relief. So if you were to make a movie and you wanted it to be accurate, this is what the children of Israel would look like. But this is it. This is it, family. When you see in the Lachish relief and you saw Judah and they had their hands up, this is what they would look like if they were brought to life. Somebody said, my granddaddy. Yeah. They look like a lot of our forefathers in here. Yeah, when these AI tools, family, when they're able to do stuff like this, analyze the Lachish relief, and then to pull out the figures in there and make them photorealistic. I mean, this thing is amazing. Check this out, family. The Lachish relief brought to life.
There's something special about you, Judah. They can lie, they can hide, and they try to interject other haplogroups. But when a artificial intelligence sees a relief, and that's what it matches to, which is funny. This is the funny thing about this, brother. When I was putting this together, I had a video the video I showed in front, another video I would show. But when they showed the recast relief, they did a painting, and they painted all of them white. And I would say, but it's without a doubt, when you see it, it cannot be. It cannot be.
Now, when you look at the actual relief itself, all you see are melanated features. You know, you see the nose, the tight hair, the tight beard. There's no way that you could get, Eurasian or European features out of that relief. But it's the same thing that Hollywood has done over the years. It's the same thing when you talk about the Renaissance era in Europe. I call that the great marketing campaign. Everybody was painted white. No, it's, and I think I shared with you that one image I got in southern Spain of Christ. Did I share that with you?
Do you have it?
It's on my phone. I'll have to send it to you again. But clearly, it was one of those that, it's in the city of Cádiz, Spain, one of the oldest cities there. But he's definitely a melanated version of the Messiah. So
what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to that the doctor who did the dental research in the chat. So if anybody else want to read it, it's a lot of reading, a lot of stats and stuff. That's why you might want to take a shortcut and let AI analyze it for you and break it down for you. But I'm gonna put it in there for you to have that. I already put the link to the British Museum for the cash release for you there. We're giving you tools right now that you can have in your own pocket that you can show people, hey, we're the people of the book, and there's evidence upon evidence that points to the scriptures that tells us who we are.
That's true. That's true. It's Bible. Everything goes back to the Bible.
And I've seen a lot of people in the chat, and we take a time to thank all those in the chat. Thank you guys for hitting the like button, sharing this, commenting. Please come back after the chat's over, after the live's over, and come in again. Guys, it's you that make this possible. It's you that cause it the algorithm to listen to us, because we make them listen, because they don't try to put us out there, because you retweet, because you like it, because you make the comments, hit the like button. It has to pick us up. And people have to see this truth, because nobody else is putting it out.
Right.
Only our people, the people like you see, Pastor Kelly, Bud Benaya, channels like us are putting this out, and they don't want it out. Right. So I'm going to go on to, see, take that down. All right. And knowing that DNA, and a lot of people put up, and we talk about he went over about the J migration, because the J they're trying to put the J in the Levant to put somebody there other than us.
Right.
But
right.
We know that J was, like you said, Johnny come lately.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the end of this, if you find this on the website, he has a primary source. Guys, we can go and copy and go look at these things yourself. I love things to give sources. When I did when I did my paper in school, if I didn't give my sources, it wasn't paper. I failed my course. So, right. and I think in ministry we should be doing that more. Even when we're preaching, we're teaching. Let people know that this is what the words say. This is why we know this is the authentic word, because I'm gonna give you the sources behind it. Because I found out the hard way that I spent 30 years being lied to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a picture of the actual dig. Remember, they found over 1,000 skulls in this grave. It's about I couldn't find but several pictures. These are the photos of the siege of Lachish and the Neo-Assyrian Empire siege and the conqueror of the kingdom of Judah. Now, remember, they tried to get to Judah, but they hit Lachish first.
Yeah.
And that's going to, but this picture shows you more of the skulls they found. And you can see some is embedded in the wall too. And you can see some bones in the dirt in front. This is a map of with the area where you can see actually the palace where the king would live. I'll give you a point right here. You see this is main Judah, but the Lachish area was not that far from it.
Right.
This is where the cave was. So, brother, if the Lachish people were right next door to Judah, these are all the same people. This is a family.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's the same.
And to make it even more, this is a picture of the skull. Now, can you read that, brother? Can you see that on your side?
Yes.
What type was it said?
So, Dolichocephalic skull.
Dolichocephalic skull. Now, if you would go right now, guys, and look up this look up Dolichocephalic in Google AI, you see what it read? Dolichocephalic, I highlighted skull, not exclusively black. Now, is that true?
But you gotta look at what it says, including various regions of the Mediterranean. So we know that the Phoenicians really helped to settle different areas of the Mediterranean. So we know where the Phoenicians descend from.
Brother, I laugh. Exactly, you're right. Those areas they include they're melanated people too.
Yeah, Australian Aboriginal, melanated people, South Asian, melanated people. So they try to kind of flip the script a little bit, kind of trick you and making you think. And that's why, too, we have to stop thinking. And I've seen this happen even with us, strictly black, white. We have to stop thinking like the former oppressor. We have to think broader, melanated group of people.
Yeah, you're right. There was no black and white.
Right.
There were no black and white. Our people, we didn't call each other black and white. We were you were either Israelite or you were somebody else.
Yeah.
And in that time, you were either from this tribe or from this region, or you're from the region that my people are from. You know, that's how we didn't identify as black and white. That didn't happen until, like we said earlier, in the 1600s, where we had a Baker's Rebellion. Then they had to separate those freed black workers, indentured Irish whites. They had to separate them because there was more of them than the white landowners.
Yeah.
So they came up with terminology and put it in law in Virginia.
Yeah. And brother, you actually hit on something we could spend another 2 hours talking about with Baker's Rebellion, but I won't.
I'm saying it out there because I hope everybody let me go read about that and research about Baker's Rebellion. You need to know.
And let me just give you the quick laser version. That rebellion in 1617, it upset the hierarchy so much that common people who were either black, indentured servants, whatever the case, they actually joined together. That's when the colonial governments had to create new laws, racial laws, separating black people and white people.
And racial terminology, the actual term white came to develop.
Yep.
But like you said, if you look at that Google, that's where you give. But if you go farther down, this is what it says. This is right next to what I just showed you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
After saying it's not exactly, but then it said to find a key on Dolichocephalic phenotype, Negro African population.
Yeah.
After trying to tell you it's not necessarily Negro.
Right.
And this is mine, and we go to yours next. This is my snippet, guys. When I first did my 21 Me, you can see it up here. 21 Me. This is my, I'm glad you can't see my mug up there, but they told me my paternal haplogroup was EZ60818. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm looking for E1B1A. Then I'm the first thought, like some of you might have right here. Am I Israelite? Am I really, but I didn't know that it was a subgroup of E1B1A, and they know that most of us don't know, because when people started doing it on the earlier part of this awakening, they were giving them just E1B1A.
Right.
But as more people started looking, and more people, from various areas started to say, "Hey, I want to find out mine," they started breaking them up in subgroups.
Yeah. Yeah.
And partially because, like you said, for it's a very diverse, but also to keep you confused.
Yeah. 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 And I would just encourage people, if you have taken the DNA test, just take time, as you would in anything else, to really get an understanding of what your results are, because there's a lot of useful information that you can find to help you understand what your results actually say. But yeah, this is definitely this is a branch of E1B1A that comes from the EM2 line, which all of us come from EM2. But yeah, this is just one of those branches, and that's why I keep saying it's important for scientists to do more studies on E1B1A. But equally, Brother Berean, I wish that more people, especially doing their genealogies, have their males test to actually help build the database, because
you have your DNA that you can show, right?
Yes. Okay,
and Brother Gibson, you not only test yourself, you test your son and several other people in your family, right?
Yeah, my dad, and then I tested my cousin. His results just recently populated. So can everyone see this?
I'm gonna put it up. Wait a minute. Here we go.
Okay, and
there we go.
All right, what I want to do is just back it up roughly to about 1800 BC, so we can just kind of take a look. I don't know if that's showing on the screen or not.
Yes, it is. I can see it.
So you see this little animation, stop right there.
Right.
So Egypt, then by 1300, let's see if I can blow this up. So we get right here to the Gaza Strip.
Yep.
And
You're
then
just leaving the land of Goshen.
And it continues down, and so it crosses the Jordan. But now this animation is going pretty quick, but what it's showing is just the this particular line being in the Levant, and then eventually, as we get down, let me take this back a little bit to about, let me bring it down to about 700 BC. So here's the 1682. So this is another branch, and this is what Brother Mazingo had on his website. But then this particular line keeps going out. Now, here's an example, though. I want everybody to pay attention to this. So everything shaded in purple shows the how it fanned out. About 2 months ago, 1682 was right here, kind of in the Israel area or Jordan area.
On your DNA.
Yes. And it's moved, they moved it down further. But if you still look at the trail of these particular snips, it still goes back to Israel. But the visual representation, they modified it. They tried to change it.
They're pushing you out. They're pushing you out in the Moab kingdom and in the Arab kingdom.
Exactly.
Now, where was it? Can you show where it was?
It let's see if I can. Let me see if I can find that.
I think you stopped it right there on the other side of the river.
Yes. So
put your mouse where the Jordan is.
where it used to be, where Easy 1682 used to be, was, let's see, right here.
That will put you right smack and up top of Jericho, right above Jerusalem.
Yeah. And so and it's this change has just been recent. That's why I say screenshot everything. And because I personally believe that there's something going on behind the scenes with all of this, and it just doesn't make sense. But let me see if I could pull, let's see. Let me see if I have that. Okay, I don't have the animated portion, but let me see if I can go ahead and show an older screenshot. Let's see. Okay, let me know when you can see that, Brother Berean.
Yeah, let me see. We'll put it up. There we go.
Okay, so 1682 was a little bit further north, but then
wow, yeah, you're way up there.
Yeah,
that puts you right in Jerusalem.
Yeah, and in my particular snip, I don't know if you see my cursor. It was literally in Jerusalem, closer to the Southern Kingdom. So that's why you have to be very careful. Take screenshots of everything. Do your best to document everything because things will change.
And why you need to do that? Because you should be able to give proof to what you are and who you are to your loved ones and those naysayers that you said the word of the Most High tells us who we are. We can take you to the scriptures. We also have DNA that we can take you to. And my brother, Pastor Richard, done a great job on the linguistic, how the language itself. Like I stopped you and showed you that Paleo Hebrew. We're going to talk about how that language follows us everywhere we are. Right. And we'll talk about that more on the next week. But the Most High made sure that we had many different, breadcrumbs. So when we did wake up in the land that we didn't supposed to be in, then we'll be able to find our way back.
Yep. And Brother Berean, I'd like to share one more thing real quick.
Go right ahead.
So this is, and this goes to show you how diverse E1B1A is. So what I'm showing now is a cousin, a male cousin, who is a direct male descendant of my great-great-grandfather, my grandmother's grandfather. And then notice his E1B1A is right there in Yemen. You know, this.
Are you showing it right now?
Yeah, is it not showing?
I just put it up.
Okay.
This is a cousin of you.
Right. So he represents the direct male line of my maternal great-great-grandfather.
And what is the EFT one?
EFT 18114. But notice
that.
And see, that's that what I call that Red Sea corridor, because it goes back. It kind of goes into Ethiopia, out of Africa, into Yemen. Then it comes back into Africa. So, you know, it's just important to look at how diverse E1B1A truly is. And let's not forget too, Brother Berean, for our autosomal DNA is important because for those who have the Bantu matches, and that's another aspect of history we can't overlook, that Bantu expansion, because we're starting to learn more about the Bantu populations coming from the east and then moving into the west.
And that's what that's part of what you talked about earlier. We had forced migration out of captivity, 722 BC, 580 BC, but you also had people who were just traveling, trading.
Exactly.
And stuff going on. And so our people were forced out, were traveling, trading, things went down, they just didn't go back. So
exactly.
Guys, we are spread throughout the four corners of the earth.
Yeah. And Brother Berean, not only spread to the four corners as stated in history, Bible history, but we are also on record. You have to search hard. What other group of people who've been through the experiences we have that truly line up with Scripture?
Nobody.
Yep.
I put a post in my community thing. If anybody I was using for a friend. I gave him that Bible challenge. I told him to read Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 to 68, and read it in detail. And if verse 64, we said that these things will be a sign of his people forever. That is true, and the word is true. Then if you read all the rest of the verses, who else fit those signs?
Who else?
Who fit those signs?
Yeah.
And that's one of many.
Yeah, and that's all you have to do is just really try to answer that question. Who else? Nobody.
I've seen this sister at 38 vet said that some people are teaching that's the last one. Modern Hebrew. Yeah. When most people came to this awakening, that was there, and it was everywhere. And that's part of learning. But if you're on the path of seeking knowledge, and if you look and find what, like I said, the clues are adding together. When you saw in that underground cabinet, you saw Paleo Hebrew. If you look up Paleo Hebrew and find out what's the consonant with Paleo Hebrew, it's the same match as if you look up Gaiz. Gaiz is the language from the Ethiopian. They only had one consonant sound, the original. In fact, on cue as always.
There he is.
There he is. So that's happening, and that's part of us being able to follow those breadcrumbs back to who we are. The bones don't lie; it tells us the truth. The language don't lie, and my brother just came on. Might know a little bit about that.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Peace and blessings.
Hey,
to you guys.
Pastor Kel, how you doing, brother?
Doing great. Doing great. How you doing, Elder Lyles? You doing all right?
I'm doing great, Pastor. How are you doing? I caught part of your live when you were taking us on the grounds there, man, and everything just looks great. I'm happy for you guys.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's all of us, you, Berean Scholar, the entire community, because the whole goal is to step up the standard among us, because the perception that others have about our community is that we're, when they say grassroots and things along that line, they really don't give us the credit of our academic achievements, as well as how we function in these spaces. They're just accustomed to what they see with many of the camps, but they really don't see that we really have assemblies, and I think that, acquiring the land and really setting it up as a campus for this awakening, I believe that that's going to really help the community just kind of step the game up of how we build and how we establish things among ourselves, and we can say, hey, we can use that as a community conference center too, among ourselves.
Right.
But yeah, it's an achievement for the entire community.
Right.
All praises to the Most High.
So happy for you all.
I appreciate it. So, Berean Scholar, you were saying that I came in right on time.
Right on time. We were talking about how these breadcrumbs that we found, that these bones that we were picking apart with the excavation in the Lachish, and one of the videos I shared, they was showing a tunnel, and it was writing on the wall. It was Paleo Hebrew on the wall. Yeah. I said, you see, it points back to the original language. It wasn't block. It was block letter. It was Paleo.
And see, and when we say block letter, for those that may not understand, that block letter is not actually ancient Hebrew. That is a Syriac language, right? So when we say Syriac block letters, those are that is not the Israelite language. That's not the writings of the ancient Hebrew. So many may not be aware of that, but that's something that if Christ was walking among us today, that's what he was making reference to in Matthew chapter 5 when he said, "Think not that I come to destroy the law and the prophets," but he went further and said, "Not one jot or one tittle." So what he's saying, even though that's a Greek manuscripts that we see there, but actually in the Hebrew language, he's saying, don't change not even the hairs of the letters. So when you understand that, you see how the language itself changed, right? In terms of how they pushed in an Assyrian block letter, they interpolated the language with two different vowel systems that did not, that was not part of the language. They start pushing the Aramaic hypothesis, to insinuate that they all were speaking Aramaic at that time, which that's completely incorrect. So it's a number of different things that took place. And I think when I was coming on, you mentioned Gaaz, right? They call it Ge'ez or Giz, but the ancient pronunciation is Gaaz, right? Because being a sister language of Hebrew, they did not have all the vowels that we see. They just had an ah that was associated with every consonant. So, and I've read some of those letters and got confirmation from many people reached out to me from Ethiopia confirming it. So, but the problem is when you start studying the Greeks and some of these other cultures, they viewed our language as being too primitive, right? Mm-hmm. They equated it to almost being like a baby language. And when you understand the language of babes, we think that when they saying da, that they're actually saying daddy and mama. No, they're actually learning how to pronounce, their basic words, vocabulary or structure is going to be a simple ah sound with different consonants associated with it. And so that's where a lot of the confusion comes into play. So many different layers to it. Like with the chart that you have up, I didn't, when I started studying and learning the Israeli language, I wasn't comfortable with the chart because it's like, wait a minute, you're going to tell me that the same phonology that's current is applied to these ancient letters. And then you're telling me that there's a difference between biblical Hebrew and the Hebrew, the so-called Hebrew that they're speaking as a spoken language.
Come on.
But the phonology is still the same.
Right.
So those are a number of layers that just didn't make sense. It's like, wait a minute. And I'm literally having these heated discussions with rabbis like, hey, wait a minute. What is an accent? And when I asked them what's an accent, they couldn't explain to me what an accent is. Something so basic in the linguistic arena.
That's exactly right.
Like music, an accent, let's say an accent is a mark or character to place a point of emphasis on how you pronounce certain sounds. That's even in music. So it's so many layers to it. And when you just start understanding the language, that helps you actually go deeper in your research when you start studying anthropology. Anthropology is not just looking at physical traits, you're looking at language, because language can also tell you more about the people of that time, their writings. That's why they always go to like a lot of the pottery to see what's written on the pottery and things along that line. So, but yeah, language, and even when you deal with the the Rakesh relief, and you even look at some of the DNA that was initially marked, which is being changed today.
Yeah. In fact, Brother Gilbert showed his where it put him right in the area of it traced his original oldest relative back into Jerusalem area, but now trying to push him way down in Arab, or trying to push him down somewhere else, and then saying the J and something, and they're up there.
Well, and that's what they're doing strategically, because I have a thread that I did with ChatGPT. I'm not sure if you remember when ChatGPT was just testing it out, see how it changed from when we did the DNA thing with it, and they made a lot of changes to the template. And so what I do is from time to time, I'll just put things into ChatGPT just to see what's the baseline, to establish a baseline. And it got to a point of saying that E is not recognized as being connected to the original people in that area.
Yeah.
And it took me going through systematically, knocking all of that down, dropping source after source after source, showing that the original people there, the oldest DNA the first DNA haplogroup that they assigned to the ancient people was E1B was for that entire region. E1B1A was for the Israelites. E1B1B was for the Hamitic people. Far as you'll find a lot of that with like the Kemet, the Pharaoh. Some of the pharaohs had E1B1B. So just some of those things that they are inserting their own so-called scholars to rewrite, to revise the history.
Yeah.
But they'll say, hey, we have a scholar 1948er who's a student XYZ, and from their own universities that they created, to push their narratives.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, Pastor, to kind of echo what you're saying too, and I mentioned this earlier, it's going to really be us, our scholars, our geneticists. They're going to have to start including the discussion of E1B1A in the broader narrative, because, what it's showing us, we were there, and we have to have those conversations. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you think about it, think about how these 1948ers, how crafty they are. They are purposely bombing historical landmarks.
Right.
I was in Iraq. I was in Bahrain. I was in those areas, and they are purposely bombing so that way they can rewrite.
Yeah.
Even from how they're now trying to say their skulls were in the ancient ruins.
Right.
And you're like, come on, guys, y'all got to do better than that. We got plenty of history that shows that the very first skulls in Galilee, right? Those areas, those caves, was us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when they put the label E on it.
Yeah.
Then it was like 3 or 4 years later, that's when they created R.
Right.
And then they started trying to force it into there. Then they couldn't do it that way, so they created J.
Yeah.
10 year J is like at least 10 to 12 years older for us in terms of establishing that haplogroup.
Right.
Of E. They what was that, the early 90s?
Yeah.
Mid to early 90s?
Yeah.
because that was when what's that? Spencer Wells did The Journey of Man, I think.
Yeah,
and that's when they went throughout the world and getting all these different haplogroups and signatures. But even if you go back then, E was the foundation in that area.
With the oldest.
Yeah.
And so now, as you notice the maps, they pushing it further and further away from that region, starting with renaming the region Middle East.
Yeah.
So when people think about Middle East, they don't apply it to Northeast Africa. And then they start more and more with the maps, they pushing E all the way outside of it.
Precisely. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why, it's important, just as we study the word, the Bible, we also have to make sure we're caught up on just basic history.
Yes.
Because if we don't know, they're modifying history literally as we speak.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what you're looking at, if you don't know the foundation, then you won't know.
Yeah. Hit it right on the nail. Totally agree.
And that's why, guys, go ahead, Pastor.
No, go ahead. I don't want you to lose your thought.
No, I was just saying that's why when they're trying to put other haplogroups in these areas, is for us to know this, take screenshots, document it, that we can stand on all 10 saying, hey, no, we know where we are, and we know where our DNA goes. The same argument we had with Edwin Elhertz, the same Elhate, the same the dig that we just got through looking at, and two other people who looked at the dig, that was he's supposed to got his DNA from.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And he said he got totally different, from what the gentleman that we highlighted today, and the sister who did the dental records. Both professors both did a paper on the dig. Both found out that, hey, they were a group of people who migrated from Canaan, Egypt, and was there as a group of people in that land, and they were Dolichocephalic skulls. There were in the E subgroup haplogroup.
And that's what they do, right? Because what they do, they change words, they create words too and backdate it. They purposely start changing the haplogroups to adding L and all that other stuff, to it. I mean, I remember when I had the 23andMe, it was like I had E, and then I went back to it, had some crazy code in there. I'm like, what in the world is this?
Yeah.
And so that tells you how they're purposely trying to continuously convolute the narrative by inserting different things there into Elder Gibson pointed out, is that they making a point to own these different like DNA labs and things like that, so that way they can push a narrative.
Yeah.
And so this is why we have to even be careful with AI. We have to know what we know, like you pointed out as well, Elder, that you can't just go to AI now and think that you're going to be able to ask a question on a subject that you have no knowledge on, and then it's going to give you the information you need.
Exactly.
Especially in this subject that we're discussing.
Yeah.
AI can't lie.
And Pastor, it was actually, you did a live, it's probably been within the past couple of months, but challenging AI. And then I had to go back and I said, wait a minute, because if you're not careful, it's just going to pull kind of selective data that's out there. But if you don't have a foundation, some foundation in what you're researching, it can take you off into a different direction.
Yeah.
That's why I try to encourage people, while it's still available, create a free account at Internet Archive where you can download those historic books, get into the word, reading that, because you got to be rooted in that foundation, not only from the Bible, but some aspects of general history, because like you said, they are just changing stuff. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it almost makes me think, the truth of who we are are they really trying to suppress that?
Oh yeah, they definitely doing that, because think about it. If they acknowledge that we are the true people of Israel, then that forces them to have to give restitution.
Yeah.
Because if they just came out and said, hey, you know what? They are Israelites. They are, let's just say, if they want to use the term Jews.
Yeah.
Now, all the monies that they've been giving the 1948ers, they have to include us in that as well.
Right.
And then give back pay.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going at with that? So that's why they write the laws a certain way, right? Like President Obama, he thought he was doing something noble when he said, hey, we all going to be called African Americans, but not understood. I think he understood because he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
The laws with the slave codes and all of that classified us as Negroes.
Yeah.
So they called it the Negro codes or the black codes.
Yeah.
So if you move away from that and then you say that, hey, we demand reparations like the Israelites did in Exodus chapter 12 to the Egyptians, they're going to say, well, wait a minute, you classify as African American.
Exactly.
The laws are written for Negroes who was enslaved.
Right.
So no, call me a Negro. I'm a Negro. I'm not an African American.
And you want to know something, Pastor, too, from a genealogy perspective, and for those who trace their family histories, and then you start ordering birth certificates from when they started keeping birth certificates on our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents, look to see the classification, because sometimes you may see colored, other times you may see Negro.
That's right. That's right. And with my great-grandfather, they put mulatto.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because even though both his parents were Negroes, but because he had a lighter skin, they put mulatto on his birth certificate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if anybody ever been in any legal situation, words matter.
Yeah.
And that's why they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys hit it on the nail. I know I came in on the tail end of it. But just from what I heard, you guys did a great job with nailing this. And this is, as you guys said, we have to keep rehearsing this. And
we do.
I don't give messages like I used to, like sermons when I was in Christianity. It's like, no, I'm through with that. Yeah. I'm going to keep teaching. When I'm teaching the scriptures, I'm tying it right back to us being the people of the book.
Yeah,
we have
I'm not giving any more, I would say, cookie cutter sermons, so to speak. If we want to talk about any passage, okay, let me give you the content. Let me give you the target audience. All right, it was Israelites. You know what I mean? I'm going to make sure that no matter what message I am giving out of whatever text, I'm bringing it right back to our people, being the true people of the book.
Exactly. And
you see what Elder said? Elder said, Pastor?
Yeah. Says I'm Negro, said on my birth certificate. And you keep that and hand it down to your children.
Right.
Because that's key.
Yeah.
Because it's on your birth certificate that you are classified as Negro. So therefore reparations are based off of that title.
Right.
And if it come back to you're right. Say it again, Pastor. If it ever happened, it's going to be on title.
Yeah.
Exactly. So don't let these people fool us by saying, oh, I'm never going to call myself a Negro again because of all the racism and all. No, call me a Negro. I'll be your Negro.
Yeah.
I'll be your Negro. You remember that?
I'll be your Negro.
Yeah, I'll be your Negro. Call me Negro.
Yeah.
Because that is the connector there. That's in the legal system.
Yeah.
What's up, my Negro?
That's right. But you see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
We're making light of it, but you're right.
Because guess what? If you say African American, that allows Caucasians to use African American.
Like they are doing.
Like they're doing now.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right.
I've dealt with a few pastors that call
Elon is
themselves
African
African-Americans.
Yeah.
I've literally had conversations going at some Caucasian pastors who called themselves African-American and told them that they're proving my point.
Yeah.
So Negro, they can't call themselves a Negro.
Right. Nope. Right.
But they can call themselves an African-American.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Man.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. About to segue into a whole nother segment with this one.
Exactly. I was telling you, it does my heart good, and I have to lamb back on what Pastor said, that the reason why we do these things, we make these connections, because we want to teach the word, the unadulterated word, the truth, but we also have to dig our mindset out of this colonized junk that they put us in, and let our people know who we are. We need to know who we are, and we need to break ourselves out of these mindset, like we talked about last night. You are made in the image of the Most High. Yah made you in His image. You're beautiful, you're powerful, and then when you walk in His covenant, you're unstoppable.
Yeah.
And I want to just add this too, because I saw a post that I got tagged in about, it was a crazy post, and I see it a lot from time to time, and I see a lot of our brothers and sisters take this approach. He said, is it required that we know Hebrew in order to understand the gospel of Christ? And that was their way of trying to minimize the importance of not necessarily being an expert at Hebrew, but making it a point to say, let me get the proper context of keywords. Let me understand how to go into a Hebrew Strong's concordance or whatever, Briggs or whatever, and let me see if I see the word, let's just say salvation. Well, let me see what it means from a Hebraic school of thought.
Exactly.
And when I saw that, it was like, and then they tried to use the day of Pentecost as a reason, saying, hey, they all was able to understand the gospel in their own language. It's like, well, wait a minute, that's a misnomer. For starters, the misunderstanding is thinking that they didn't speak multiple languages. They was multilingual.
Yeah.
The scripture says that they were Hebrews coming from far and near, and they did this regularly. They understood their native tongue, but they were saying, wait a minute, in the place that I was born at, they are speaking the language of where I was born at.
Exactly.
And so I had to even say, hey, well, explain to me why it's noted in the book of Acts that Christ spoke to Paul in his Hebrew language.
In Hebrew.
Right.
If it wasn't important, it wouldn't even have that entry there.
Exactly.
Why is the old, they call them church fathers, why do they say in their writings that Matthew wrote his letter, his testament, in the Hebrew language, the language of his people? And they point out Paul doing the same thing. They point out the letter to the Hebrews, James. So, family, I'm saying all of this to say these are little things that you just have to be careful of coming across that can kind of trip you up to thinking that it doesn't matter. Because if it didn't matter, they would not have changed it.
Exactly, Pastor.
They would have.
And when you
They
said
would not
Hebrew,
have changed it. They would have kept it the way it is. They would have changed the letters itself. They wouldn't have changed any of this. They wouldn't even change the depiction. You know what I mean? If it wasn't a problem.
and when you say Hebrew, keep in mind it's not the modern Hebrew. You know, it was a Paleo Hebrew.
And
it was Hebrew.
The modern, what they call, the scholars call it Israeli language.
Yeah.
That's Cambridge, Oxford. They call it the Israeli language. They make it clear this is not Hebrew.
Right.
All they did was took some of the Hebrew pronunciations, but they took the Yiddish and a lot of their accents from the Germanic accents and all. Then they just added it to it, interpreted. Really, they didn't even add it. They just created a whole new language.
Yeah.
and call it Hebrew.
That's true.
I'm trying to get to where it showed that actual language down in the underneath the
BBC, וזה היה דבר הנקבה.
The excavators struck, each man to meet his co-worker, pickaxe against pickaxe.
right there.
Yep.
That's where it was written in. This what it says. Excavators who dug those tunnels, what he was showing underneath Lachish, these are common people. That's what the language they wrote it in.
Yeah.
And this is why Christ said, don't touch the hairs. You see the hairs of the letters. Don't it look like hairs? Look at the Allah,
Yeah.
right? If you look at the second line from the bottom in the center, right? You see the bayat, you see the mem, you see the alap, you see the tha, you see the yad, right? You see the ha right there, but you see that's not what we see today.
Right. Right.
And that's why it's important.
Yeah.
Just want to put that up there since we're talking about it, because I'm glad you said that, Pastor, because we need to know that we have mountains of evidence that point to who we are, and also point to our language, our people, our land, and our heritage. So I want to thank you, both of you guys, for being here. Pastor, thank you for coming on and joining us. I know you had to pick all those thorns out your pants and stuff off your jackets from that walk you took.
Oh man, I'm prior military, so I know what clothing to wear to go out into.
Oh, so we'll pick it up.
I didn't have to pick out any of that, But keep praying for us, family, because we're dealing with a lot of territorial curses, territorial spirits, so just keep us lifted in prayer, and we'll keep you guys posted with the progression. But yeah, like I said, I'm good. I didn't have to pick out any thorns, and I know how to walk in it too.
We all gonna bind together and touch and agree that the Most High move on our behalf, not just your behalf, on our behalf, so that land would be possessed, and we'll be able to build on it and be able to do great things for His kingdom on that land.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And Brother Gibson, thank you for your input. Thank you for even reaching out to me about the brother that you knew that did that research. So
yeah, I appreciate this opportunity, and just to encourage all the listeners, I view this as a great time. This is really a wonderful time for us, even though the world may be in chaos right now.
Oh yeah.
If we just stand fast and just hold on, we're going to see a powerful move that's happening on our behalf. And so just encourage the the listeners, make sure you study, tune in to Brother Berean, tune in to Pastor Kelly. Make sure you guys are taking notes, because it's a lot of information, and even when both have their lives throughout the week, make sure you go back if at work and you can't catch it live, make sure you go back, take notes, because there are always some nuggets that can just help you in your daily walk.
Thank you, brother. And I also want to thank you guys for hitting the like button. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being part of it. I also want to give some special guests. Thanks for those who shared and donating online with this super out. Thank you, Sister Georgetta, for your gifts on Cash App. That blesses what we do, because it helps us keep things going, keep everything running. We do this because we want to make sure that we wake up as many people we can, because just like Brother Gibson said, things are speeding up. Our country is in a standstill. Something. A lot of things that happen, but I'm not fretting. I feel so at peace because I know that Yah have us. He will put a difference between us and the others. We stand on his laws, principles, and statutes, and laws, statutes, and his word. We are covered. So we just stand on that faith, and I pray that more of us will come to that knowledge, that saving knowledge. And any last words, Pastor? I think Pastor Rich, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I had to
let you go first. Any last words?
I had to turn my camera off, but I was getting my eat on.
I knew what that meant. I knew exactly what that meant.
But they didn't want to eat in front of the camera, you know. But I just want to say, like I say over and over, Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today would not have power over us ever again. The Most High will fight for us, but the kicker is we have to hold our peace. And the Hebrew word there is karash, which means be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Brother Gibson, any last words?
Yeah, just be encouraged. Be encouraged. Like I said, these are some exciting times, this awakening, and we are going to be all right.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I ask you guys to be a workman who need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Don't just be a person that listen to what I say or anybody else say. Go and dig into the word yourself. Dig it. In fact, every one of these sites, I put the link in the chat. So you can go back to the chat, go to the link, research yourself. And you also be a person who can go out and proclaim the truth. With that, I say Shalom, peace, blessing be with you this week.
Shalom.
What do you think about this topic? Remember to be a Berean scholar, as it is written in the book of Acts 17 verses 11 to 12. Now the Bereans were more noble-minded than the Thessalonians, for they received the message with great eagerness and examined the scriptures every day to see if these teachings were true. It's time to deepen your understanding and see your reflection within the sacred pages. Please click subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay up to date with the Berean Scholar channel.